Hi, everyone. Today, let's start off by talking about Amazon cutting another 9,000 workers. Then we'll go over the Fed futures for the FOMC that's just under 2 days away. Then we'll go over the charts. Then we'll go over my results for the day and my thoughts going into tomorrow's session. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day that the markets are open, as well as Sunday, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So, Amazon announced that they're going to cut another 9,000 workers. And this is after their earlier round of cuts, which affected more than 18,000 staffers. So, that's quite a bit of cuts here now from Amazon. Surprisingly, we didn't see the stock rally at all. You can see it was actually down a little bit here on the day, which is interesting. Usually, when you get cost cutting measures, that's generally good for the stock. But it seems like this is viewed as a little bit of a pullback in demand versus a potential cost savings and earnings per share in the future. And then they say the standard line here that they're getting a little bit leaner while investing more robustly in long term customer experience, basically saying the normal stuff for investors. They also mention here that Twitch grew a little bit slower than expectations and that their total workforce was over 1.6 million at the end of 2022, up from 798,000. So huge growth in that year. So these cuts actually don't look that big relative to the size of the company and relative to the growth that they had over the last 2 to 3 years. Moving over to Fed futures, once again, they continue to fluctuate every day. We're still on the 25 basis points for Wednesday. That makes sense. It actually stepped up in probability here today from yesterday from 62 to 70%. So that makes sense. Looking over to May, we're just about 50-50 between a pause and 25 basis points, excluding the about 11% here looking at a cut. That seems very unlikely. So to me, I think we're going to be just about split between these two here in May until we get a little bit more information. And then the more interesting piece here is moving over to June, a cut from current rates is no longer what we're looking at here. So the most probable case here is if we get 25 basis points in May as well as March, then looking over at June, then we would get a pause. If we get the pause in May, then we're looking at another 25 basis points in June here. So that's a pretty interesting shift. You can see the probability for cuts was at 50% here yesterday, assuming that we get 25 basis points in March. So that's a big shift in markets saying that we no longer expect a cut in June and that we're generally expecting to get a pause and two 25 basis point hikes, one in March and one in May. So keep an eye on this, continues to shift every single day. And this affects what the market is doing on a daily basis. Moving over here to the charts, starting with the S&Ps on the 4-hour and the daily chart. Looking at the 4-hour, we still have a little bit of bullish momentum continuing here today. Actually got steps up from the previous couple days. RSI still looks pretty bullish. Continuing to get stopped here by that 55 EMA here on the 4-hour, sitting at 394.46. So if we can get above that level, that's definitely interesting. We have a major trend line sitting up here at 397.50, so that would be your next level of resistance. And then we have a trend line and a couple of EMAs and SMAs sitting up here at 400 to about 402, so that's interesting as well. Looking at the daily chart, the 144 EMA continues to act as support. And then we have VWAP sitting up here as resistance, continuing to tag that number. 394.22 is VWAP, and we just barely touched that before we got a little bit of rejection. So keep an eye on VWAP, daily momentum still stepping in the bullish direction, daily RSI still stepping in the bullish direction, and does look fairly strong going into tomorrow's session. Moving over here to the NASDAQ, you can see we got a little bit of a pullback and some wicks to the downside, and then a pretty decent push into the midday on the 4-hour chart. It's up a little bit here after hours as well. Momentum did not step up the same way that the SPY did. RSI is still lower here, so that'll be interesting to see if we form a divergence. If we make a double top with a lower RSI read, that would be interesting. Otherwise, looking for that 310.25 level. If we get there with an equal RSI read, that would also be interesting. But right now, we're still kind of in this little bit of a holding pattern. Looking at the daily chart, you can see 2 candles of indecision. Pretty bullish on this day's candle, where you can see we tested the lows and then closed pretty close to the highs. So that is bullish. Momentum is still bullish. Like I said, looking for that upper trend here around 309.50, maybe that, or we go deeper to that 310.25 level. Both of those seem possible over the next day or two. Obviously, we have the FOMC on Wednesday, so keep in mind that we could just go sideways waiting for that FOMC decision, and then we get a bigger push in whichever direction we're going to go. But otherwise here, 4-hour chart looks very bullish on the EMAs, VWAP, and 200 SMA. Similarly here on the daily chart, we're above all the EMAs, VWAP, and the SMA here. So everything looks bullish here on the NASDAQ going into tomorrow's session. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow on the 4-hour. Starting off with the Russell here, you can see we've kind of formed a bit of a double bottom. We didn't make a new low, but we did make a lower high here today. We couldn't take out this previous high. So if we do get a push and we do take out this 176.41 level, that would be interesting. And then we would be looking up to about 179.25 or the 55 EMA up at 181. So a little bit of upside potential. We're not making new lows. Momentum on the MACD looks good. RSI looks good as well. Looking at the Dow, similar. Looking push up to the 55 EMA up at 325. That would be interesting. First test of the 55 is probably going to get rejection, so just keep that in mind. Even if we take these previous highs up here, we'll probably find a little bit of resistance in here. Zooming out, look at that volume profile. You can see just how little volume there is at that 55 EMA zone. So if we get there, we may actually push directly up to the 328 level. That would be interesting, retesting these previous lows. But like I said, 55 EMA would be your first price target. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish. So both of these looking to go a little bit higher tomorrow. Moving over to Apple and Tesla here, you can see Apple getting really close to taking out that wick going back to Friday, February 3rd. It does take out that wick, then we're looking at that 161, 162 level at resistance. So Apple looking strong, momentum strong, RSI strong, getting pretty close to conditions, but could go higher here. Moving over to Tesla here, you can see 55 EMA continuing to act as resistance, 21 EMA acting as support, looking to break one way or the other. Momentum very minimal, but slightly bullish. RSI pretty neutral as well. Overall, we're kind of stuck between these two trends. We had the bull trend, big rally, fail here, retesting 200 SMA. Now we're kind of stuck waiting to see which way we're going to break out. Looking at the volume profile, if we do get above here, then we're looking at probably 190, 189.50, somewhere in this zone. And then if we do break down, then we're looking back down to about 137, 173, or 174, right at the 200 SMA to the downside. So keep that in mind. It's pretty much equal risk reward in both directions, just looking for that break one way or the other on Tesla. Moving over to Google and Amazon here, you can see Google continuing to sit very close to its recent highs, had a huge push to this level, sitting just above the trend line as well, sitting right at the 9 EMA and the VWAP here on the 4-hour chart. VWAP sitting at 101.65, just below current prices. So lots of volume on this move, keeping up with the move. So that's good to see if you're bullish. Also here, looking at Amazon, you can see VWAP a little bit more choppy and it's to the upside. So this looks slightly more bearish. It's also more sideways consolidative. But right now we did take out this previous high. So it is slightly bullish. But really, if you're going to take a bullish trade, you want to see the stock get above that VWAP and hold. Right now, you're kind of in a bullish structure, but getting a little bit of mixed signals here on Amazon. If we break down, then we're looking back at this consolidation level between 93 and 95. To the upside right now, we're still looking at that previous high right at 101 on Amazon. Moving over to consumer staples and discretionary here, you can see staples continuing to outperform. We took this most recent high here, so we're getting highs. Look at that 144 EMA here as upside on the 4-hour chart, sitting at 73.16. Otherwise, looking at discretionary, just kind of chopping in this zone right at the 144 EMA and 200 SMA here. Couldn't get out of this level. If we can, we're looking back at this previous high at 143.15. If we do break down, then we're looking at 139 here on discretionary. Momentum, not very bullish, similar to RSI here on discretionary. Staples, on the other hand, like I said, highs, bullish momentum, RSI looks strong. So overall, staples are currently outperforming. Moving over to transports here on the 4-hour and the daily chart, you can see we're continuing to sit right on top of this trend line. You would like to see this push higher if we are going to go higher. The Russell and Dow look slightly bullish. Transports here not really confirming. You just have a little bit of bullish momentum, but it's very minimal. Sitting on that trend line, not pushing higher here. So that's very interesting. Daily chart, similarly to the Dow and Russell, are throwing VIX to the downside. Still holding within this range, but you would like to see this push much higher here. Start trend towards this upper trend line, sitting up at about 250. That would be very bullish, but right now we're still sitting at support. does not look very strong, and it's not confirming the rally looks that we have across the major indices right now. Moving over to semis, not much to say besides the fact that it's super bullish right now. So we had a bull flag, we broke out of that, we're heading higher. Did consolidate for about a day there, but we did have a bullish day. We're looking to take out that previous high, and if we do get back up to this upper trend line, that's sitting up around 265, so that would be pretty bullish. Bullish momentum, bullish RSI on both charts. Everything looks good here for semis going into tomorrow's session. Moving over to the dollar here, you can see this is doing pretty much what we thought it was going to. We wicked that resistance line. We're trending down now. We got that previous low. We're making new lows, looking to previous consolidation from early to mid-February. If we do take out those lows, then we're looking down at 101.85. So quite a bit of downside potential. Momentum on both charts is bearish, as well as RSI here. Very close to oversold conditions on the 4-hour chart, but right now looks very bearish here on the dollar. Moving over to TLT, similarly to J&K, we're still in kind of a holding pattern, but this one looks quite a bit more bullish. You can see we were holding above this trend line, and we did break down on that level here on the 4-hour. Daily chart still holding that level, which is interesting. But really, this 4-hour looks more consistent, and it looks like we're going to go lower, probably down to 104.63. So that's interesting. Certainly could be one of those areas where you find a strong support and then we get a continuation higher. That's definitely possible here. But right now, TLT looks a little bit weaker. We weren't able to make new highs from this level, and we started to make a little bit lower low from the open on Friday. If we do take out this low going back to Thursday, that's going to look quite a bit more bearish. And looking at the MACD here, also bearish. RSI slightly bearish here on the 4-hour. Momentum on the daily chart still kind of choppy, not giving you clear direction, but does look like it's going to turn bearish. Similarly here on RSI, it's currently moving down, but we're above the SMA, so a little bit of a mixed signal there. TLT looking for some direction, but slightly bearish in my opinion. Moving over to the VIX, similar thesis, continuing this hold pattern, still in the same zone, sitting right at the 200 SMA on the daily chart. So we're holding a little bit higher, which is interesting. Daily 9 EMA also sitting right there, very close to the 200, as well as the 144 EMA on the daily chart. Quite a bit of support here, and it's holding. Looking at the 21 SMA on 12-hour chart. 12-hour chart showing bearish momentum, bearish RSI as well. That isn't here on the daily RSI quite yet, but it does look quite bearish. Does seem like we're going to move a little bit lower. Might need that deeper pullback before we get continuation. But right now, like I said, we're still looking for direction, holding a slightly higher low here. Moving over to my positions here, I didn't make any changes here today. I let it play out like I wanted to, so it looks like we're going to get assigned on the IWM position, which is exactly what I wanted to happen. Definitely maxed out the profit on that position, which is what you want to see. $247 on that covered call position, which is great. Looking at my Qs position, still no adjustments, but it did pull in a little bit of money here as the market rallied just a little bit, so waiting to see what happens on this one tomorrow. Should be still profitable. Not really looking to establish a new IWM position in the short term before the FOMC. Certainly could trade it a little bit in the short term, but really I think the market's probably just going to sit in this zone until we get the FOMC, and then we'll probably pick a new direction from here. Let me know down in the comment section what you thought of the charts or what you think of Amazon continuing to lay off quite a few employees. Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.